meeting to order. This is the first committee meeting of Monday, June the 1st, the Finance and Policy Committee meeting. Members present are myself, Mr. Black, as well as Ms. I'm sorry. See? I got into a rhythm. Ms. Kuznar, Ms. King, both present, as well as Mr. Madden and our Finance Director, Ms. Abercrombie, who's not joining us up here, but there's also not a camera, so you can't come up here. So I think first, great to see everybody in chambers. I know we've all been longing to get out of our houses and come see each other in person, so certainly I appreciate that and get everybody back in chambers to take a look. First item is the public comment section. If there are any comments from the public, now will be appropriate. And there doesn't seem to be any. Mr. Butler, are you public comment? I'm sorry.
Or the staff of the Finance Committee HR Office.
Oh, both of you guys are here. I'm sorry, Mr. Butler, you're here as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Your hand signals have to do better. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, first item on our agenda is the recent approval of minutes. These are minutes from the Finance Committee dated May 4th, 2020. Those are in your packets, pages 3 through 6. What do I hear on those minutes?
Motion to approve as submitted.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve as submitted.
Second.
Motion to approve as submitted in a second. Any discussion, additions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. Next item is the reports and communications from the city officer. Mr. Matt, we will talk a little bit about our budget review.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Also joining us via WebEx is our financial advisor, Teresa Colley. As you know, we've sent some updates to council on budget projections when it comes to sales taxes, hospitality accommodation taxes in particular. And also there was a recommendation for council to consider delaying the issuance of bonds in the upcoming fiscal year. But with the market changing as quickly as it does sometimes, that may not necessarily be the proper thing to do. So Teresa Colley is here to kind of provide an overview of the market and provide us a suggestion for council to consider in the upcoming fiscal year when it comes to issuing the bonds. And in particular, we're talking about the $5 million for the pedestrian bridge in the upcoming budget. So, Teresa.
Thank you, Brandon. Mayor, members, good to see you this evening. Can you hear me? Okay, great. So would you like for me to just start and give a brief overview, or did you have questions that you would like to start with?
If you don't mind doing a brief overview on why the positions changed a little bit for us.
Okay, absolutely. Well, as you know, over the course of this year, the financial markets, there's been a lot of moving parts, and certainly some sectors of the market have been hit harder than others. We have just experienced a pretty strong 3-week rally in the municipal bond market, which is very positive. Now it's still to be determined what the latest situation with the rioting, with the protest, etc., what impact or delay that will have upon businesses in certain sectors of the market to reopen and rebuild. Specifically, I wanted to touch base as it relates to the pedestrian bridge. Certainly, there's pros and cons to both waiting and to proceeding forward. I think one of the issues that is important to consider is one of the sectors that has been closely watched by the markets is that of sales tax, accommodations tax, hospitality taxes, etc. And at this point in time, while entities in the upstate have certainly been impacted by COVID, the numbers that are coming in are stronger than have been expected, primarily because of a significant majority of restaurants that don't depend on people necessarily being in the restaurant or the bar traffic. Those who rely a good bit on bar traffic and on your what we call our white tablecloth fine dining, they are impacted more than the overall restaurant scene, such as the fast food, those more readily available for pickup, carry out, etc. That being said, the financing schedule, that we embarked upon for this project back earlier in the year had looking at a bank private placement for both of these financings. At this point in time, you can still get bank deals done for hospitality tax. The future's unknown, though. I mean, if there's another wave of COVID, if businesses shut down again, the market may or may not be receptive to it. If we were going to do a public deal right now, we would have probably a harder time getting the deal done because of the security. The good news is we do have the bank commitments in hand for both the accommodations and hospitality tax deal, as well as the installment purchase revenue bond. With a commitment in hand that in a very good interest rate in market, we would certainly highly recommend that if you intend to do the project, to proceed forward with the financing that you currently have available in the commitment from the bank. Brenda, did you just want me to speak to the pedestrian bridge at this point?
Yes, unless there's anything you think needs to be added with the general obligation bond.
No, the only thing I would say as far as the general obligation bond, I mean, the market is very strong for the GO bonds. We're set right now for rating agency presentations go out next week, and the bonds would be sold in mid-July to close later in July. At this time, I would see no hindrance, at least based on the information as we know it today, to proceed with the GO bond in the current market environment. And with that, I'll open it up to some questions and, address pros and cons of both situations.
Thank you, Mr. Matt. Did you have anything else to add?
I do not. I wanted to just update council on where we were right now. The market certainly can fluctuate, but as Teresa indicated, right now we know that it would place our bonds now. You have the commitment letters. We don't know if that would be true 6 months from now or 3 months from now. So I just wanted to make sure that council was aware of the change and the position that's being suggested right now.
Right, so when we initially brought this forward, this was going to be something that we would put off for a few months. I believe we mentioned 120 days or something like that, and to give us a few months into the budget, to give us a little bit of a projection. I think as we're looking at this, interest rates could certainly go up conduct with the finances, it's put us in a really strong position now. So as we waive this going forward, that's kind of more of an update from Mr. Madden on this is why we're looking at evaluating and not waiting after 20 days as we initially talked about. As far as that goes, do we have any questions, comments, or concerns from the committee?
None.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you being on and updating us and what you're doing for the city to give us a great shot at respond.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Is that all you have, Mr. Madden?
No, I have two more, additional ones. I do apologize. There were two minor changes to the budget document that council reviewed through their work session and approved their first reading. The changes are in the weeds, but they do not impact the overall budget as approved by council on first reading. And essentially, the change is to adjust where the bond funds, the proceeds from the bonds, are being shown in the budget. Right now, as presented, they were included in the special revenue fund. It would be more prudent to move that into the capital project fund, as opposed to showing the proceeds in the special revenue fund. So that's the first change. It does not impact the amounts or any of the actual figures for the overall budget. It just changes where it's being reported. And the second item is really minor, but I just want to make sure council is aware of it. Is the financial policies of the city that are approved and documented in the budget book. There are two areas. The first is the unassigned fund balance, the definition of that. Right now, the definition includes an unassigned fund balance of no less than 20 to 30% of regular general fund annual operating revenues, or of no less than 1 to 2 months of regular general fund operating expenditures. The change would remove that last sentence, because that last sentence is significantly less than the 25 to 35%. So let's just make sure that it's clear. The standard that the city has when it comes to unassigned fund balance is 20 to 30% of regular general fund annual operating revenues, as opposed to just 2 months, 1 to 2 months of operating expenditures. And then the final minor change is dealing with our debt policy. Right now, we have a general debt obligation that we can't exceed 8% of our assessed value. Right now, as stated in the financial policy, it just provides that piece of verbiage. So that it's clear that in order to increase it more than the 8%, you have to have a referendum vote approving the debt. We just want to add that sentence in there. So it essentially says, we have an 8% limit, but it can be increased only with the referendum vote. And just want to make sure that's clear, so there's no confusion as to how we can go above that 8%. So those are minor changes. It'll be changed in the budget book. It'll be changed so that it's clear in the budget ordinance for second reading. I just wanted to make sure council was aware of it, because it's really in the weeds, but I just want to make sure council was aware of it. And that's all I have.
So both of those items are taking a stronger position for the city anyway. It's making it going above the last item, the definitely making it harder to do so. And then on the first one, just giving us a stronger fiscal position anyways. Any questions or comments on those items from the committee? None? Mr. Madden, good job, thank you. If you don't have anything else, we'll move on to Ms. Abercrombie for a budget review, budget re-review.
Yeah, as so far, everything looks pretty good right now, I understand, even with what's been going on and the extension of the business license, still pretty pretty positive, at where we stand right now with those. I mean, we're gonna have a deficit, but I don't think it's gonna be as dramatic as I originally once thought. So other than that, if you have any specific questions, I'd be glad to address them. But other than that, we're pretty good.
Ms. Abercrombie, do we have any questions? Ms. Abercrombie? No, I think, have you been in contact with any other financial directors in any neighboring cities? Just curious if they're seeing the same things that we are.
I have not.
Well, it's good to hear that it's certainly not been as traumatic as we thought it would be, and it's hard to know. You just know it's going to be different. So, certainly appreciate that you're keeping a great eye on that for us. Moving on, there's Mr. Putnam is here with us. So, if you have any questions or comments or something you'd like to talk about,
Since the last time we met, the biggest thing is getting the employees back in here, back to work, since the pandemic and since we got them in. Some things that you probably noticed, we are taking employees' temperatures, every day when they come to work. If it's, below 100.4, go to work. If it's above, we send you to proactive MD, and we let proactive determine at that time you need to be tested for, for 19. We'll go from there. We're also, any visitors to City Hall, any folks that will start coming to the sports center, we're gonna take their temperature also. We're gonna do the best we can to protect not only employees, but the visitors that come to all of our buildings and use our facilities. We're gonna do the very best we can. We have ramped up cleaning. We've done, extended signage. We've also, as you can see, we've got, hand sanitizer everywhere we can, encouraging folks to use that. And that's just what one of our main things has been the last couple of weeks, preparing for this week to get folks back. And it'll even ramp up as we open up the sports center and then eventually the senior center also. So that's where we're all at.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Putnam. Any questions for Mr. Putnam? Okay. Moving on, our next item is unfinished business, which we have none. So we'll go on to the new business section. Pages 7 and 8 in your agenda packet. Ms. Abercrombie, would you like to take this item? So what this is an appointment for an auditor for auditor services for the city. Give us an update how you guys are at what you're.
Absolutely. We released this RFP on March 30th with the submittal date, I believe it was April 13th. Of course, amidst all of that, COVID hit, and most of the places were, working from home. So we did put out an amendment to say that we would accept electronic bids instead of a copy, just to accommodate them. So we received 3 bids, and staff proceeded to go through those 3 bids, evaluate them based off the criteria that we had within the RFP, and we came, all of us came to the same one of the Green Penny for numerous reasons. They're local. They've done a lot of municipalities our size and within our geographic footprint, and they were the lowest cost of all of them. I believe second came to Mauldin and Jenkins, but they just seem to be a bigger one, and they haven't done in our geographic footprint. And they were the highest price, but we fell off of their bid. They were number 2. But that's what we did, and that's when we came, and we're asking y'all to approve Green Penny LLP for the audit.
So not only is Green Penny local, but they're local in the city.
They are,
Half a mile from here.
and they're well known within the upstate as well.
If I'm not mistaken, they've done governmental audits for other, Mauldin isn't the only governmental audit they do. Okay. Questions or comments? Yes, Ms. King.
Ms. Abercrombie, are we just looking at a 1-year renewal versus multiple years, or is
It's
it
for
open?
3 years.
Okay, good.
With a 2-year, we asked in the RFP to do, 3 years with 2 renewals. So they put down their 5 years of what it would cost, but we can get out after 3 if we do that, or we can renew that for the other 2. But it's for 3 years, yes, ma'am.
Ms. King.
I'll also add, they're not only heavy with municipalities, but they do a lot of school districts across the entire state. So they're very well known, and I've been our auditor for the last, I don't know, how many years, Holly?
I think this is probably 7 or 8.
All right, so what do I hear on this item?
Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and make the motion to order for council on June 15th, the recommendation to appoint Greenpenny LLP to be the city's auditor starting in fiscal year 2021 for a 3-year renewal period.
Thank you, Ms. King. I have a motion. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion, any further discussion on this? Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Abercrombie, for putting that together. Okay, the next item we have on the agenda came out of our council meeting, the first reading of the budget. This is an event coordinator position in the community development department. Mr. Madden, would you like to talk about this a little bit?
Yes, this item was presented to council. It's a motion amending first reading, but it was referred back to committee. Essentially, what it does is it adds a full-time position to the community development department, a portion of which will be funded out of the $18,500 that's currently in the budget for a part-time position, and with the remaining coming out of the hospitality accommodation tax fund balance. I think the intent of the motion during the council meeting was for, if the committee approves so, and council ultimately approves to add the position, that the first year, the hospitality accommodation taxes will be funded out of fund balance, and in future years, it will be funded out of recurring revenues. It would just be budgeted into the budget. Yeah, into the budget. So that's what's before you now. It wouldn't be a major change to the budget other than you would increase the use of H&A fund balance, which I don't think we're using next year, plan to use for position. Right. So we're not using any H&A funded right now, and for next year, but it wouldn't be a major change. Ideally, if you're adding money for a position, you would want it to use recurring dollars, but because we're at this point in the budget process, it's more appropriate to use fund balance.
Thank you, Mr. Madden. Can you talk to us about the need for this position? I know for myself in the council meeting, my concern was certainly we don't know what our cadet structure is going to look like as we move into next year. But I also want to make sure that we're giving staff enough resources to do not only what we're doing currently, but to expand on that if possible. Could you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I think if you look back at the history of the cultural center, I think the programming has increased yearly, and what they put on and what's being provided and events that are being put on. I think the reason for this request is to make sure that they have adequate staffing to continue that trend. So as new events and programming are added, they're able to make sure that they have staff there that can cover the events and they can market the events. Community Development Director Van Broad is here in the event he would like to add some additional information.
Thank you. Since he's here, if you have anything to add, this would be a great time, Mr. Broad. And I think as well, so you've been within the development department for a number of years anyway. We've added programming, but haven't added staff in that time period.
No, we have not. The city, should I speak from here? Or
Come on now, come on down.
No, if you remember, when I came on staff, the city had hired George Clear as its cultural affairs director. And they were running 2 programs a year with the Barbecue Festival and their 2 events. I believe the year that I came here, the city had done an event with Victor Wooten and 1 other event. So you had the Barbecue Festival, and then as well as rental of the facility. I think the Rotary uses the room, there's no fees for that, because they had exchanged some money for fixing up the rooms. They got the use for free until next year. And then other community uses. There were a few other groups that used the room, so that was managed by George. Since then, we've added the farmers market each and Fridays. Brandon asked us to add barbecue music and jazz this past year, which we did. COVID-19 took that out. We've added the Art Haven School of the Arts, finished off 2 rooms over there. We've added other classes to the facility. We have added a theater director, which the city funds partly out of H&A. The staff raises the money for the other part of that. We raised over $300,000 in grant funds this past year for the auditorium. The city did cover the rest of that. So as well as Mr. Mayor Barrett knows, we've been out diligently knocking on doors trying to find grant funding and resources for sponsorship programs for the facility. In the best of times, it's difficult when you don't have ongoing program to showcase those events to get people to donate money. In times like these, when COVID-19 is hit and companies are laying off workers, it's almost impossible to go to them and say, by the way, they sponsor our Beach and Fridays event for $5,000, and when they just laid off 500 workers. So it's just a difficult challenge. I think Kira has more than managed what was being managed and what was funded by the city, as well as multiple additional events that we had. The city also wanted marketing. We've added multiple marketing opportunities. We told an incredible story about the city of Mauldin for the last 5 years. And we had a staff member position that's been taken out of the budget. So I would just point out that we had that in the budget, and for some reason that was renewed as well. So we would just like to add the staff tag that we had so that we could have a staff member for the local center for events. I can show you our timesheets during the summer season. We were regularly working 90 to 100 hours a pay period. We are exempt employees, so we don't mind doing that. We love doing our job, and we love doing the work for the city. But I can just tell you from a personal level, I can't do that. And remain healthy, emotionally, and or physically. I will be 60 this year, Dale. I'm catching up with you. So I have to make some personal choices in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Rudd. As I think as we balance what the culture center is, we also have to balance it. Not a lot of government money makers. So police and fire are money makers. Culture center isn't a money maker necessarily, but what's important to us as a city is what we have to balance. Do we have any thoughts, questions, comments on that? On the presentation? Ms. King.
Well, I have a kind of a laundry list here, even though I will say that during these difficult times, it's hard to predict what our future is going to look like. I guess bottom line, I have always stood strong, as this is my 5th year serving on this committee, to stay within the limits of the budget that's presented to council. And I'm struggling with straying from that in this situation. In the past, when we've had other, and I'm talking over my experience in 5 years, when departments have come up, midway through the budget or even, a month or two out requesting vehicles or employees, I stood strong and said, sorry, but, it wasn't part of the budget process. So I think that's kind of where I am with this, just because of me being really hard, towing that line in the past. The full-time employee, as I understand it, was in the initial budget but did not make it to us, so it was kind of prior to council seeing that position perhaps. And then somewhere along the budget process and the workshops, we agreed to add the part-time event coordinator, which I personally missed. I mean, I didn't miss it, but I don't think we fully discussed that to the point that we should have. And I know with our meeting remotely, maybe that was part of the reason. So when it reappeared, I was like, oh yeah, we did kind of go, across the surface with that. So I am perfectly okay with the part-time. I think for me personally, I can't, even though I'm not saying there's not a need for it, but I'm not so sure. I just wish we could look at possibly having part-time and part-time employees maybe filling in. I know volunteers are hard to get. I certainly don't want Van to depart in any way and work himself to death, and he definitely needs help. But I think there's other things we need to look at prior to adding the full-time position. Once you have the full-time position, it's there forever, and the benefits, et cetera, that go along with it. And I'm preaching to the choir. It's the same thing I've said across the board for years. I guess the only other thing is I will add, and this may change, I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know, but currently under the governor's executive order, we would not be able to have the Beach and Fridays if we were to start this weekend. So I think his order expires somewhere around June 10th, June 11th. If he doesn't renew it, then we're good to go. If he does renew it, then we can't have Beach and Fridays until that order is lifted. So there again, I think there's just unfortunately a lot of unpredictable events to come that none of us have that crystal ball to see what it may look like in the future. So having said that, for me personally, I would just have to go with approving the part-time coordinator for now, and then look at it in the upcoming fiscal year 2021 budget to see if we not only need one employee, if we may need more than that. There may need, well, I'll stop right there. So, and I will add also as a final thought that there's no other department across the budget that was given an employee for this budget year. So I think that's important to note as well. As Mr. Mayor would say, it's just one person's opinion. I'm not a man, so I can't say one man's opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. King. Ms. Bignar, your thoughts on
So my question is, if we have a part-time person, and if they needed to work extra hours, then there's no money in the budget for that.
Ms. Kuzniar, the part-time person is to be paid hourly. Right now, is in the budget, you have $18,500 for a part-time position. Once you reach that limit, you're not there. We're not looking at somebody with a part-time position working 40 hours. But it's essentially an hourly position.
any other questions, Ms. Bignar? I think as I weigh this item is one of the concerns I have with Mr. Broad and his workload is not giving him enough opportunity to do what I think is his full-time job, and that is economic development. So, I want to be careful to make sure we're providing him with the necessary tools. Make sure that we're giving the employee the need to not go in place or pool that he can't do what his job is. So as I've looked at it, that's been the one thing that I do like the buffer system. I like it kind of gives us a buffer. If we pulled out H&A, I think that gives us a year buffer to look and say, okay, is this needed next year? Is it not? But having said that, like I said, my concern coming into it was certainly what our event structure would look like. But I've waffled on that a bit. I do believe that there is a need, at least for some relief for Mr. Frost late, and this position would provide that. Do we have any thoughts or comments to move forward to council for more discussion?
I would be open for me personally, my position, I've made clear, but I think it's important to let the other folks that do not serve on this committee have a chance to voice their thoughts as well. So I don't have a problem with forwarding to council for further discussion on the 15th. If you want me to make that motion, you do so.
Please do so.
I'll second. Okay, let me do it first.
Sorry,
Let's get my thoughts together. I'll go ahead and make the motion. I'll make a motion to board full council on June 15th, the event coordinator position for the community development department with the possibility of changing the currently budgeted part-time position at $18,500 a year to a full-time position for the fiscal year 2021.
Thank you, Ms. King. I'm going to let our administrator and city clerk sort out that motion.
That was a good motion.
It was a great motion, but I don't have a good enough memory to repeat it. Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I have a second as well. Any further discussion on this item? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. King, for that motion. We'll be discussing that further in council. Okay, next item on our agenda is another spot for public comment. There are no public here, so I'm going to assume we can also include committee or council members in that section. Mr. Matnick, the illustrious one and only. Wordsmith to the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Pat Matney. I reside at 712 Millwood Drive. Appreciate the opportunity to be before you tonight. I want to thank Mrs. King for making the motion, and Ms. Kuzma seconding the motion to move the item forward for consideration at full council regarding community development. A couple of things that I was thinking about as I sat in the back. You know, when we look at producers versus consumers and the way that our departments operate. Now, there are some that would argue, maybe rightfully so, especially back in the 80s, that as far as a producer, the police department was a good producer of revenue.
I regretted saying that as soon as I said it.
But generally, they are beneficiaries of our budget. The same goes with the fire department. Same goes with public works. But the one department that we have in the city that is designed to generate revenue, to bring people into the city, is community development. It's all about economic development. It's about bringing in new business. It's about bringing in tourists. It's about generating those kind of events that we have at the cultural center that make people take a look at Mauldin and say, this is where I want to be on Tuesday night for the farmers market. This is where I want to be on Friday nights for Beach and Fridays. This is where I want to be in December for the 12 days of Christmas. This is where I want to be in September for one of the South Carolina Barbecue Association's favorite festivals that they always have trouble, or that they end up having to turn people away who want to be judges at that festival, because we have one of the premier barbecue festivals in the state. And right now we have a department with a department head who is tasked with being the department head, running the events, going out and finding sponsors, writing grants, and somewhere trying to figure out how and when to lure business into Mauldin. That's a lot for one person to handle. Then we have underneath him a position that is designed to run the interior of the cultural center. And she does a fantastic job. But when she's not doing that, she's just like Mr. Broad and running all over the cultural center on Friday nights for the concerts and making sure the volunteers are doing what they need to be doing, the band's taken care of, the vendors being paid. And that's out of the scope of her job. And then we also have a marketing person who's not just tasked with marketing the cultural center or the community development department, but the city itself. So we're automatically splitting her job to do other things aside from community development department. So as we look at returning to whatever normal is going to look like, and as we look at the concerts that we have and the festivals that we have, all of the events that we have over at the Cultural Center, asking for $40,000 from the hospitality and accommodations tax fund balance that building is responsible for generating in the first place, I don't think is a big ask. So again, thank you, Ms. King, for making the motion. Ms. Kuzner, thank you for making the second. And Mr. Chairman, thank you for letting me run on that. Then I'll answer any questions y'all have.
Any questions for Mr. Matt?
Only what does he remember about the 80s?
That's a discussion that we'll have when they're not campus.
I appreciate you doing such a fine job, taking my word and doing all the gesture for that. Okay, if that's all we have, the next item is committee concerns. Do we have any committee concerns? Hearing none. What do I hear on adjournment?
So moved.
So moved. I have a motion and a second.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This meeting stands adjourned. It is 6:45. Somehow I had a meeting go 45 minutes. My apologies. Next item up is building and code committee.
Oh, okay, thanks.
No committee members here. I got to do a rhythm. I'm sitting beside me already.
You did have 2 members of the public.
Okay.
All right, it is, 6:46. This is the Building Codes Committee on June 1st, 2020. With members present, myself, Diane Kuzma. Committee members, Dale Black and Pat Matting. Business and Development Services Director, David Bureau, and City Administrator, Brandon Madden are all present. So, I'll call this meeting to order, and first is public comments.
We have 2 on the list.
And
Neither one's raising their hand.
Nobody emailed in any comments.
all right, so we will move on to reading and approval of the minutes.
Approval.
June the 2nd, or May 4th. One thing that I did find, and I don't know if I need to say it now in discussion. In discussion, okay. So do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
Discussion. On page 3, paragraph 7, the only correction I see is that Mr. Day, the last name should be spelled D-E-Y. And that's all. Any other discussion on the changes or amendments? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the amendment to change Mr. Day to D-E-Y? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So it's approved. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is report for communication from city officers. Do you have anything in mind?
I do not know.
Mr. Bureau?
Thank you, Ms. Kuznar. I have, first on here, just a budget review, and I did provide each of you a copy today of the latest budget as of the end of March, and the ideal remaining percent is 8%. We're in fantastic shape. We've got 27% of our budget still remaining, so doing fantastic with regards to our budget. Any questions about the budget?
Just a comment, although you're 650 business service professional, glad to see that word.
That's it.
That's been a long time coming. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And then, when you're ready, Ms. Kuznar, I can also talk about the update on small box varieties.
I'm ready.
Okay, I provided to you in your packet just the update of where that stands. If you remember, at the beginning of this year, the city council passed a moratorium on discount stores, and the planning commission has been working on regulations, or determining what regulations might be appropriate, and working on crafting an ordinance. We have a draft ordinance now, and that has been provided to you in your packets. And you're welcome to review that when you will. This is being scheduled for a public hearing later this month for the planning commission. So they'll hold a public hearing towards the end of this month in anticipation that they will have something ready to recommend city council take action on probably next month. And you'll notice too, we renamed this, instead of discount stores, we call it small box variety stores. The reason for that is it's more consistent with how we're defining types of stores that regulates, so that it confused types of stores that we're addressing. Any questions about this item? That's all the reports I have. So there's any other questions?
Madam Chair, the only thing that I would say in response to that, and I appreciate the work that David's done as well as the members of the planning commission who've been looking at this when I first asked for this to be looked at. It really does go back a number of years when we started looking at zoning along Main Street and trying to make sure that zoning was correct. Last year, where I had requested a moratorium on development because of the way certain commercial developments were butting up against residential developments. This really was kind of born out of that. As David and the planning commission are looking at small box variety stores or small box retailers and their place along the city's thoroughfares and various zoning districts. I think that after it's taken care of, we as a council, and we talked about it in goal setting sessions, really look at it from the point of view of overall zoning within the city as we plan to develop. Are the zoning classifications that we had in place in 2020 the right ones? They've been in place for 40 years, but they still fit. Do we need to look at overlay districts, flexible review districts in certain areas? So, I mean, I think that this gives us the first step, an incremental step, but an opportunity to really look at overall zoning and overall zoning overhaul down the road. So I appreciate the work that y'all do on that. So we'll be taking.
That latter part that you mentioned is a major work in progress right now. Looking at, or we're working on another one opening.
Okay. David, is the current moratorium still in effect?
It is.
When does it expire?
It expires in August.
So if this goes to planning commission June 23rd, possibly we'll come back to the meeting in July.
And then city council could vote on it
Or that's
first.
before the moratorium expiration.
Well, it would be July.
It would be July would be first reading, August second reading, and we'll double check on those dates, but it may fit right within that. It'll be really close.
I don't want the moratorium to expire, we're still working on trying to get something together to make a final decision. Might create some controversy.
What I'll do is, Brandon, if Mr. Madden's okay with that, we'll, just consult with the attorney to see if there's anything we need to do additional with the moratorium, understanding kind of the timeline this is on right now.
There might be an automatic extension, we could put on, we have to, the next council meeting. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Dave.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is unfinished business, which there is none. And so the next is the new business, which is board and commissions. So this one came in today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, you can see on the agenda, we have appointments for boards and commissions, and, we have 4 openings on the planning commission right now. 3 of them are for seats that will expire at the end of June, and the 4th one is for, filling a seat where there's a new vacancy. We have received applications from the 3 members of the planning commission with seats or with terms that are expiring. They have applied for reappointment. And we've also received an application from Mr. Michael King, who would be a candidate to fill the vacancy that has recently opened up. So, as far as staff weighs in on this matter, we support all of those individuals who applied and would recommend that this matter for the planning commission be forwarded to city council. We also have 4 open seats on the zoning board. We have so far received 1 application from an individual seeking reappointment. And then I just gave you tonight another application from an individual who's actually been on the zoning board. To apply to be placed back on it, Mr. Michael Burns. We are still open to receiving additional applications from other members of the public interested in serving on our zoning board. Zoning board's a little harder sometimes to fill because it meets very infrequently. And anything that they review are requests for variances and exceptions from the zoning standards. But, certainly, it would be appropriate to move forward with considering the reappointment of Mr. Paul Calabrese and Mr. Michael Burns for the city council to consider. And, staff recommendations to go ahead and forward these applications as well as any additional applications that we might receive before then to city council for consideration.
Madam Chair, move that we forward Michael Foreman, Jonathan Paulson, Dean Ang, and Michael King to full council for consideration for the planning commission, and that we forward Paul Calabrese and Michael Burns to full council for the zoning.
Second,
Second,
any discussion?
David, to run on the board of appeals, get these two, that's still gonna leave you vacancies on that.
We'll still need two more.
You'll have enough to have a quorum, to have a meeting that needed.
We'll have enough for a quorum.
Okay, I just wanna make sure we will have enough for with the vacancies we still have at least. For one.
We will.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So it's approved, 3-0. Next is the permit and license software.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We've talked about this in the past, so I won't go into too much detail. We're grateful that we have software right now, especially during this time when we've been working from home. And it's enabled people to apply for permits and licenses from their homes on their computers. And so we're grateful that we have this technology and software that we to facilitate those things. Now, that being said, the software that we've had has been clunky. And it's been clunky and had issues with this company for a number of years. So it's really kind of been time for the city to take a look at examining that a potential partner for providing permitting and licensing software. So we've been doing a lot of exploring products during the early part of this year. We put out a request for proposals at the beginning of May, and that request has closed. We received 4 proposals. We have one that we think stands out clearly above the others and is also a much improved product compared to what we're using now at this time. The staff would like to recommend for selection Citizen Serve, and we currently have enough available in our budget to pay the cost for.
Any questions? I do have one question. So the users, it's the 10 users, this one is for the 10 users, right?
That's correct.
And are the users is just the employees, it's not like people calling in to fill out comments and things like that, so.
That's correct. And when we put out our request for proposals, we use a very conservative number, and realistically, it'll be less than that.
And I'll ask a question again, we always, this ask, this software is compatible with existing hardware.
It is, in fact, with this company, it would continue to use our current financial software. They have an ability to integrate with that too, so that's something we don't currently have. That would be exciting, but yes, it's compatible with everything we're using. It would be a significant upgrade. We called around South Carolina communities who are using some of the products that we got proposals from. And I just got to tell you that every community I called that uses Citizen Serve in South Carolina had absolutely glowing remarks. We even found one who had formerly used the same company that we are currently using and switched to Citizen Serve, and they, to put it shortly, were completely ecstatic with their change that they made.
I just want to make sure, because we seem to have a surprise on some of the software changes. We're told, it is compatible, and once we start getting in operation, then we'll surprise with all the changes we've done over the years with hardware and software. I just want to make sure we kind of move into it without more expense on that hardware end of it. Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to this council for consideration?
Madam Chairman, I'm moving, we forward this to full council a recommendation for the permitting and licensing software to go with City Serve, that's how you pronounce it, Citizen Serve.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And the last, part of the new business is performance bonds.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And on this item, so our staff has been approached by at least 2 developers recently who have requested that the city entertain allowing developers to use performance bonds as financial security as they're doing subdivision projects for the infrastructure that would still remain outstanding at the time they get their final plat and start receiving building permits. Typically, at that time, there's still infrastructure like maybe the final surface on roads or sidewalks or things like that that have not been completed yet, but they're at a far enough along point that we're okay with them to start issuing building permits so they can start building homes. Currently, what the city allows developers to do is to provide a letter of credit with the bank, or to provide cash or a certified check, and Greenville County administers those financial securities for and on behalf of the city. A few years back, the county, and I'm not sure about the city, but probably the city as well, allowed performance bonds as a financial security. The county a few years ago, though, stopped accepting them as a form of financial security because they were running into problems. A lot of communities were running into problems with them. What the county told us was that they were not being honored, the performance bonds were not being honored. They experienced a lot of difficulty in getting the funding when a subdivision did default. And there was a good number of subdivisions that defaulted during the recession. I worked in Simpsonville at the time, and we had a few there as well. And I remember at least one in particular that they had a performance bond and just couldn't get much money for it. We weren't able to go in and complete the infrastructure and had to pick and choose the priorities that we had enough money to do. So those are some of the issues that we run into with performance bonds. They are not necessarily recession proof. And in addition to that, I mentioned a moment ago that Greenville County administers these financial securities for the city, and we're grateful for them that they do that because there's a lot of work that goes into that, where they keep up with the timing and scheduling of those things, making sure that they're renewed so they don't expire and all of that, like notices. The county has told us that if we do consider accepting performance bonds, that we would need to take on the administration of that. So there's a little bit more to this discussion than just do we accept performance bonds, but there's also additional responsibilities and duties that the city would need to assume if we wanted to explore going down this path. Trying to just present this as briefly as I can, but I'll kind of leave my presentation at that unless Mr. Madden has anything to add, but I'll conclude by saying at this time, what staff is seeking is to see is there interest or a desire of the committee or the council to further explore this road, or if you feel like you've had enough information and are not interested at this time. Mr. Madden?
No, that's exactly it. Thank you, Dave.
I would have a very difficult time pushing the issue right now, not knowing exactly where we're heading, and from an economic standpoint. When David talked about the 2008 recession, I know that we had a large subdivision under development in Mauldin at the time. The developer had to stop construction, I believe filed for bankruptcy, and that development sat half done for maybe another 4 years or so until it was purchased by another developer and was finally built out. We are experiencing a lot of development and a lot of growth in Mauldin right now. I would hate for us to be in a situation where we allow this as a financial security right now, and because the economy ends up taking a turn, we're really gonna be stuck trying to chase somebody down, whether it's a bank or a surety company that's issued these bonds, trying to collect to finish out the development. I think it is good to be received as information for now, and that I would be comfortable just watching where the economy goes, see where our own building permits go, where our own developments are doing, and then maybe revisiting it in a couple of months.
Is anybody else using the performance model we did years ago?
Yeah, City of Greer still accepts them, and the City of Greenville still accepts
What's the
them.
pros and cons on their behalf? Talk with
I've had just some brief communication with Greer. The pros is that it obviously is friendly to the developer, and what we're hearing right now from one developer in particular is that it frees up his money to the point where he can facilitate other deals and do more development. So I think that's probably the main pro that communities like Greer look at, is it just helps facilitate development, particularly residential development. But obviously the con is that there's a little greater risk, especially if the economy turns, that you're not necessarily going to recover the funds.
that what you're saying, no protection if, say, the bond company goes bankrupt.
Now, we'll
Correct me
say,
if I'm wrong, but we're dealing with, I mean, if it's a bank that's providing the backing for that bond, they're going to be backed by FDIC more than likely. So the real challenge though would be just getting the money from them, which would mean that we've got staff time that we have to invest outside of City Hall to do that.
The way it is now, they just put up, what, 125% of the project, how it is.
right, correct, and that's a pretty typical figure. What that does is it works in a little bit of inflation.
Randy draw on that, so they're gonna have, so they complete sidewalks.
Yep.
They
So
draw down, and they still got an X number of dollars left to complete the
Yep.
final surface of the rest of them.
yes, so they can
Once,
draw down.
once part of the project is completed, they can relieve some of their money that they had put up front.
Correct. And I'll tell you, there's one other way too, that most of the developers approach this that helps them not have to put out so much money, and that is they usually phase in their development projects. So when they do a final plat, they're not doing a final plat for the entire subdivision. They're doing a final plat for a smaller phase, and that limits their exposure to the amount of infrastructure you're responsible for, limits the city's exposure as well by extension, the amount of infrastructure that we're exposed to.
But this is just protection for the city, so they had 100 lot subdivision, and they got X number of dollars for the infrastructure, sidewalk, roads, stormwater, and all this. They went in there and completed 50 of those, and then they didn't do the other 50, but then the road and all still completed. The city would not be out anything on the other 50 lots that hadn't been developed, as long as the infrastructure was in place to take care of the 100. That's right.
Yeah, and it's really protection for the city as well as the residents that are moving into it.
I was running that years ago from a resident somewhere, something happened, and I came up on. Like I said, I'm like, man, I think we need to get some more information on it, was, you know, untold thing that, and there's no guarantee what we have to protect the citizens' dollars. We don't have to spend money if we don't have to. Mistake that we made, and there's no guarantee we wouldn't make a mistake on something else. I think we need more money on rather than act on it right now, more information. Just my opinion.
I'd like to see more information too. Or just, maybe
Talk-
keep this
talk.
building committee and as a recurring topic, for the next couple of months, Madam Chair.
Then bring us some more information back from other municipalities that might be using the performance bonds, and what kind of problem they've had in good times and bad times. And that way we kind of gauge if it's worth a risk or not. There's too many uncertainties out there with the way everybody's going.
Madam Chair.
Okay, so do we want a motion to keep this on committee?
Move that we keep this in committee as a recurring old business agenda item. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, motion passes. Any committee concerns? Hearing none.
Public comment.
Okay.
Public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, public comment.
I thought you did.
Anything?
You only have Mr. Crosby on there now.
He doesn't have any questions. Okay, no committee concern, no public comment, committee concerns.
Hi, Scott.
Okay, so hearing none, will I hear an adjournment?
Move with your. Second.
All in favor? Aye. It is 7:14.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
I don't know, not long, I hope. Why? Gotta go put back yourself.
The third committee meeting of the evening on public safety to order. It is 7:15. We have present myself and members of the committee, Mr. Merritt and Mr. Black. We also have present in council chambers Chief Brian Turner and our interim Chief Brian McComb. And we have Judge Martin, who is joining us remotely. In addition to our city administrator, Mr. Brandon Madden. The next order of business would be the first opportunity for public comment. Do we have any public comments?
We do not have anyone that email public comments.
Okay, and I don't see anyone that's here for that. All right, then we'll move on to the reading and approval of the minutes from May 4th. What is committee's pleasure on that? Thank you, Mr. Black. We have a motion to be approved as distributed. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have a second. Any further discussion, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from March the 2nd, say aye. Aye. None opposed. Motion carries. Okay. Agenda here. We'll move to the reports from our city officers. I'll let Judge Martin, If you can hear me, I'll let you give your department report at this time.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. Good evening. I just wanted to let you all know that the judicial department right now is currently coming in at about 18% under budget. And we are expected to trend that way through the end of this fiscal year. I also wanted to let you all know that we are planning to resume court beginning this Wednesday. In the next few weeks, we will have extremely small dockets just so that we can make sure that we are protecting our city employees as well as the public. After this week, and probably I'll wait until next week, I will provide you with an update to let you know how we plan to proceed from here on out.
Thank you, Judge Martin. Committee members have any questions or comments for Judge Martin? They're shaking their heads, so thank you, Judge. We appreciate that, and good luck this week moving forward.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Chief Turner, would you like to present your budget review?
Currently, we're still tracking very well, 12th month. Everything is going well with our department budget. We do anticipate 1 or 2 additional expenditures for some new items as we move through the month of June. But we should do well in the budget overall.
As you all would see. Thank you. Any questions for Chief Turner? Chief, I guess we're still, my question on Police Academy, we're still just, have we called that off, or we're still just waiting to make a determination on that?
Well, normally we would start at least one session of the youth academy
Now,
Monday next week. Right. So it's the week after school now. There's a couple things that come into play with that. One of course being the COVID-19. We also have some concerns moving forward with scheduling, because we use our SROs to do those things. They have some recertification time that they'll be doing during the summer, so it limits us in the amount of weeks. We have not completely ruled out possibility that we would do one in July, but we need a lot of things fall in place for it to happen. As you know, those young men and women are here in the city. They're up here at the station the whole time. We're doing training. A large portion of that comes from outside. With the assistance of our fire department, who's helped in the past, as well as some restaurants and businesses and things of that nature. So we've got some inquiry. We've got some people that are interested. Trying to make that fit. So it's kind of uncharted territory. But we hope to in the next couple of weeks have an answer in the July session.
perfect. Thank you for not totally ruling it out, but we understand if we can't make it happen. Thank you. I think I'm the only one that have anything. Thanks. Okay, our interim fire chief, Brian McComb.
Thank you, members. Currently, we're at 14% on our budget. Ideal remaining percentage is 8%. So we're 6% under at this moment in time. That's all I got.
Any questions for our interim chief?
Appreciate it. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Okay, there's no unfinished business, so we will move to new business. The first item can be found on pages 5 and 6 of your packet, which is the traffic calming on Edgewood Drive. I know the members of this committee have already read through this and probably have some questions for Chief Turner, but I'll just give an overview that back in October, we had a resident that lives on Edgewood Drive, which is in Knollwood Heights neighborhood, with concerns over traffic speeding through down Edgewood Drive, which is the street that he lives on. He understands and understood at the time this is not a cut-through street. I think that's important for committee and council to understand. However, there were some speeding issues. So there was a traffic study done, and Chief Turner, I think I'm gonna, you about have this memorized, we've discussed it so much, so if you want to give an overview, and then if the committee has any further questions, we can address those.
So, within the, you've got a meeting item that was set up, it's pretty in detail as far as exactly what goes on, and all of you were on council at the time when we were asked to look at the traffic in Edgewood and see what was going on. So we did several different things with the traffic calming. We originally got speeds in the neighborhood, and we had to work around some holiday issues, but we got some assessments done. And the reason we worked around holiday issues, we wanted to make sure we had true speed at the neighborhood. So we didn't want to hit it on weekends for like Thanksgiving and things like that. So we waited and we did some assessments. We put the signboard back out after a while, after some driver education stuff, and left it off. So it didn't actually display speeds, but it still captured the data. And we worked out on the process. With the actual resident that came in with the October 2019 meeting, I've discussed with him several times through email and by telephone as well. And I stopped at his house to help facilitate through our traffic calming policy that was enacted last year. And just walking through the steps on that, the resident took it upon himself to go to the homes on the impacted street, which is what our policy calls for. I believe it's 18 out of 30 homes on the street requested it, which is 60%, which is also another criteria that's outlisted in the traffic study. So if this item is being presented tonight in Public Safety Committee, as far as moving forward, and if the decision is to move forward to the full council for the decision of installing level 2 traffic calming methods, which could include things such as speed humps, not speed bumps, but speed humps, and or other things that come in with that. With the speed humps, we have to look at things such as additional signage, striping, roadway striping, things like that. And the determination would have to be where those could be successfully installed. There's DOT guidelines, and which would be up PW as far as doing getting that information and making sure that we map out the road and know what we could do that at this council decision.
So, Chief, if you could clarify as well, so under this traffic study, the speed criteria was not met, correct? Because of, we were talking about the 85th percentile, would you share that?
Right, speed is the 85th percent. So you did have a volume of traffic over the period of the study, and in all, in 1 week of the study, is 1,555 vehicles. And speed at the 85th percentile, which means that at the speed indicated, at least 85% of the vehicles were at or below posted speed limits. Posted speed limits listed at 25. We did notice a decrease after we did proactive measures, and the overall decrease was just 24.3. Now, there were some outliers here and there, so depending on the time of the day, depending on if it was a resident or whether it was a commercial truck making a delivery or whether it was any vehicle, there were some outliers here and there, but overall, speed at the 85th percentile came in at 24.3.
Any additional questions for Chief Turner from the committee?
One minute,
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Basically 60%, so 18 out of 30 homes signed the petition, so it still leaves 20%. People are next policy. 30 homes, they're all going to be impacted there. Was there any feedback that others didn't come to the door, they didn't show up, or they did not want to sign it?
I don't know if y'all had this, and I think you really wanted that.
Not.
Okay, so this is kind of a pretty diagram that shows homes on the street. So the street's in red, and you can see that it's pretty much, although it's not all the homes, it is kind of representative, I would say, of the entire street, because you have homes on both ends, all the way down the street that pretty much have looked at that. Now, the ones that I can see on here do not, are the ones that are at the stop sign at the end of the street. I don't mean that's not why they signed it, that just means that they just didn't sign it. So, the way the policy goes is that, we provide the documentation to the petitioner, and that person is the one that goes out and collects the signature. So it's unknown to me whether every house was going to, or if 20 houses went to, but I didn't know it every day in the team. So the names and information comes back to the police department. We verify them. I base them off tax records. We had to go back out and send an officer out to several of the homes, because originally a couple of them were renters. As far as the traffic comment, the person that owns the property gets to say so, and whether that needs to be added to the roadway, or put his name or her name on the petition before the city. So we went through and clarified a couple of issues there, and the overall number was 18 out of 30, and that does come with 50%.
30 homes or less, the rental homes, not counted.
No, sir. A total of 18 out of 30 in ownership of homes.
The ones that, I've heard the question of the 30 homes, they were all owner occupied versus a rental.
No, sir, there's some rentals in there, but there are rentals in there, but out of, make sure I'm phrasing this right way. So if you own the house and you rented it out and the name that was on the petition was the renter's name, that didn't count. We went back and made sure the owner was in agreement to actually have level 2 traffic calming installed. So the owner of each property signed the petition. And we verified that the best way we could through email, telephone records, search history, government records. We did that to everyone. There were some houses that we went to just clarify and make sure that because you had one name and then the middle name they used, but it's actually they go by the first name as far as their deeds and their records. So we just made sure everything was. We did our due diligence to make sure that the people that are on the petitions are actually home properties.
Mr. Black, if you don't mind me adding real quick before you ask your question, if y'all remember, and I'm horrible with keeping up with the time frame, but probably 2+ years ago, there was a resident in Knollwood that was actually walking on Knollwood in the morning and was hit by a vehicle by their side window. Luckily, the individual was not tall, or it could have possibly hit her in the head. And you all are aware that this is my neighborhood, and I am active in the neighborhood morning and evenings, not so much during the day when I'm at work. And we all have neighborhoods where there's just those few violators that do speed through, unfortunately. And as I said back in October of 2019, I feel like the majority of the violators are actually residents of our neighborhood that are speeding through these neighborhood streets. Having said that, I know that speed humps are a controversial subject. Either you're for them or you're not in most cases. I also know that there are small children that live on the street, and I also know the vehicles that speed down this street. And for 60%, for the resident to get out and to do what our traffic calming procedure calls for, and to get the signatures, at the end of the day, I would love for committee before this council to be vetted further. It's obviously a enough serious topic for this resident, and 60% of the folks on his street agree. So at the end of the day, I respect that. So I know there's some negativity to having speed bumps versus humps, but if it will slow a car down and save someone's life, then I'm for it. So Mr. Black, your question, please.
Chief, this estimated cost you got, does that include the signage, the striping and everything?
Yes, sir. I've got up with, Public Works Director, as well as, the Finance Director, just to kind of discuss the parameters. I mean, it could be plus or minus just a little bit. Because you're talking about the signage is being made by the city or got by the city and purchased. The labor, of course, would be city labor, to do that, and the cost of the material.
This would be a speed bump, not a bump.
So this would be the.
Which is a gradual.
Right, so what we have put in before, what was installed by the city before, the most recent one was on Crestwood, which runs behind, Vilo. That is the most recent one, and before that, Highgate, which is off of Smith Hines, and before that, Mauldin. All of those are done the exact same fashion, right on signage, right kind of grade on the right marking on the road surface, and in my opinion, the right place.
That's what I was going to mention.
As well, because we made sure that it did not impact normal traffic, and also there's restrictions on where we put it. We wouldn't want them close to the fire hydrant, we wouldn't want them close to the rest of the hill, on one side of the hill, things like that.
So we had complaints before, people didn't want them at their driveway or near their driveway.
They're not supposed to do it.
It would, if it's forward to the council approves it, it would be a gradual hump, and the safety vehicles, fire trucks, EMS and all that can get across it. No problem. I know we had a lot of trouble with humps, because you had that big.
Or bumps.
Yes, sir.
Bump, and they couldn't, the bumps, they couldn't go across 30 mile an hour, whatever speed they had to get to the.
So I can't speak to, they'll be able to be.
But the ones in place now, they're able to navigate.
Right, some of our emergency vehicles, not as much patrol cars as other bigger vehicles, garbage trucks and things like that. It impacts, but there's a difference between the impact and, in my personal opinion, to some vehicles as opposed to others. Fire trucks will probably go a little bit faster, but slow a little more. So it does. And speaking in the past with the fire chief, I mean, that does impact a little bit, but, again, at the end of the day, I think that the city on the aspect of the diligence on working through the process, the amount of data that we collected, the period of time that we did it, I think that's why it's important.
We had trouble before with bumps, and people complained about knocking their front ends out.
Yes, sir.
Service vehicles are making, but the humps, we haven't had, I know it's any problems or any complaints about it. We had to take one up on Mauldin, I think, several years ago with two.
That was a long time ago.
They took us up because the resident complained, it kept them awake at night.
And just for, to let y'all know where the street is, in case you don't know, it's the main entrance into Norwood, that is Edgewood Drive. So the street is straight, and then it takes a decline down the hill. So obviously, the placement, as Chief Turner said, would be important and have to be up on the flat portion, not at the peak of that hill there. Sanitation, Public Works was picking up my trash when I left out this morning, so I'm always running about 3 minutes late, so I opted to go out the other way instead of my normal route, and I went up Edgewood. And which is not my normal way out or in the neighborhood, but as I got to the top of that hill, there's a pretty good little stretch there. I can see how folks, my kids play in the front yard, so I'm very conscious of my speed, but unfortunately not everyone's like that. So I can see how you could really get up to a high speed before you hit that stop sign up there at Main Street. Any other questions?
How many are you talking about? 2, 3?
I think done on other roads, and that's only because of what we've done on the other roads. I think that two would probably be the minimum that you do. It's gonna come down to, you know, it could be one of those things that you can put them in and then you see that there's an additional one that needs to be installed.
Got two other roads that pull off there, so you have two intersections.
We've got a couple of intersections that
We have three.
continue to
Three.
put it down. Yes, sir.
You have three to pull off, you got this line across it right there.
Yes, sir.
So you have to take that consideration, what the driveway, what placement.
Right, and after that third one is where you have a little bit of gap, before we get healed, so it's one of those things where you would have to do, you have to all get together, as far as, you know, myself and public works director and look at it and make sure we got the map right and where they put the map and then look at what we need to do.
That's all.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Black. Any other questions?
I guess the other thing, right before you get to the end of it, there's already a couple of bumps. I got to burn water right to the left and back to the left to right. I'm personally opposed to pumps. Pumps. You can have control cars, 25-mile-an-hour speed limits. You can't get out of first gear at 25 miles an hour. But I understand the law. I would also always defer back to neighbors and the neighborhood. If they request it, have a majority, then I defer to them more. It's not my neighborhood. Yeah, they got a problem, we don't. Yeah, but I understand, but just to update you, if you go to the Pine Gate and talk to those residents, they say it does keep them up at night. If you look at the scarring on the hump, it is being violated. There are some cars that are bottoming out, one airborne, whatever. If you go to Maple Drive over in Pine Valley, you'll also talk to residents there and you can look at the scars there. So humps are not always a deterrent for those. We have other adjectives for the cars that are on airborne. Another reason on that. So I know it's not. Enforcement is always the better way, proactive enforcement. The presence. I think Edgewood has a retired police officer living right there on the street.
Looks like there's no car on the driveway anymore though. It's at the top of the street.
That used to be a deterrent. No, again, it's just my comment. I know the residents. After they get them, then they sometimes question whether they should have done it. Majority also.
And to that point, I think it has also been noted that if council votes to approve this level 2 traffic calming method, that they're down. They're not going to come back up. So once they're in, they're in. I think that was voiced to the residents as well. So I will try to have some representation here on the 15th.
No question. Chief, I know years ago, we had a situation, and I don't know whether we ever tried it or did it. Too expensive, didn't work out, some portable type units that they put in. I think they were made out of some kind of polyurethane or something that I don't know whether they worked out or more expensive than asphalt or what it was. I don't know whether we ever put them in use or not. I know it's checked on.
I remember what we're talking about. I don't know whether they were ever tried in the area.
I know we discussed it.
I don't know if they were purchased. It was more of a rubberized material that you could put stakes in the ground and put up paint.
I don't worry about it. I've never seen any of these. I don't worry about using them.
There's some in the carpool line at Fisher Middle School.
And those are more bumps, I think. The humps, because the humps are really wider at the base.
They're not a true bump, but maybe not a true.
Right. So I can look that up and see. I'm not aware of any of them.
Well, it could be more expensive than what you've got quoted on your documentation also.
I don't think so. if there's no further questions, what's the pleasure of committee on, or not say council, we're sitting up here in it. Pleasure of committee on this item.
I'd make a motion that we forward this to full council, get input from the rest of the council, and, make a decision at the, regular council meeting on this level two traffic comment.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Have a motion to forward to full council on the 15th. Do y'all have a second?
I would say.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of forwarding to council on June 15th, say aye. Aye. None opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Chief Turner. You'll be back on the 15th, right? We'll just stand there. I was like, well, aren't you going to sit down? Okay, next item on the agenda is the mutual aid agreement found on pages 7 through 12 in your handout. So, Mr. Turner, Chief Turner, sorry, you're at the podium. I'll let you carry on.
So this mutual aid is much like other mutual aids that we presented to council in the last 6 months. And this is another city requesting specialized assistance in aspects that we're fortunate enough here at the city to have. In this situation, before we was a mutual aid for without getting into a whole lot of detail on it, for an officer to assist in the city with some ongoing details that they have. This has been provided to the city attorney's office. It was reviewed last week, and I don't think it's made to the memorandum to show that or approved on his end as far as the legality of the mutual.
Any questions for Chief Turner regarding the mutual aid agreement with the city of Mount Pleasant? Yes, sir.
Chief and I have had conversations about this before, and, he understands that, it speaks very highly of our police department reputation for these requests for mutual aids that seem to keep on coming. This one's down, as I understand it, down at the coast in Charleston. I guess my concern is city of Mauldin pays for our police department, our residents, our businesses, place for our police department. And they head down to near Charleston, actually the town of Mount Pleasant. We continue to see the requests. I'm trying to figure out how, because we're a city of about 28,000 people. Budget next year's proposed budget is $34 million. If you look at Mount Pleasant, there are 806 employees, approximately 85,000 people. They got a $138 million budget. $86.3 million comes from the general fund. They cover 52 square miles, 166 sworn officers, 27 civilian personnel. Here we are, a little 28,000, 54 officers. They're asking us for help down to the coastline. It just reached a point, and I know we've had this discussion before, that our bordering communities, I want to help all I can. Once we keep going down to the coastline and down below Columbia and all that, I just, somewhere I gotta say, where is the line that is beneficial to the city of Mauldin? Have we ever requested mutual aid assistance from the town of Mount Pleasant to us? So I think the other conversations we've had, same thing. They're asking us, but we in turn have not asked. So here it is at the coastline. So that's my rub, just my comment, if you will. Is it fair to the citizens of Mauldin to subsidize a city that's more than twice the size of ours, more than 3 times the police department size than ours, more than 4 times the annual budget? They're asking us to help. I'm a computer guy, the data just doesn't add up to me. That's just my comment. Thank you, Ms. King.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It could also be a compliment to the city of Mauldin if we have an officer that's trained in a certain area that, another area, town, city needs, and that officer is not known in that part of the state, because I know that's a lot with investigations, if they're known in the other state, that's why we do mutual aid often, it's because of identity purposes. So, without talking, because I don't know the background on this, but again, I would just throw in, that could be a compliment for our police officer that is trained in whatever area these towns and cities may need for these mutual aid requests. Mr. Black, do you have any questions or comments?
I'm just sitting here thinking that, like I say, there's a lot of towns they go through and get a lot of people in Charleston. They don't have the same expertise, resource, closer by, but it speaks highly of our department, our training and our people. They don't have anybody with a need that they need to together closer by where they keep a eye on.
I'm sure that there's people between, Charleston County and River County, all that could actually do that work. Yes, I do believe that, but I also know that, sometimes when you do, special operations or events and things like that, you need, more people, maybe, more than what that geographic region can actually provide.
When you say they could be drawing from these other towns as well.
Absolutely.
Just need to
Absolutely. I would believe that probably more so than not in the case. It will not just be.
But not just somebody from here going out there, they would already have all the other resources.
I would believe that to be the case, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, there's no further questions. What's committee's pleasure on, mutual aid agreements?
As the previous document, I would make a motion that we send it to full council, full meeting on all the council members to see what comes out at that time, you know. Mutual aid for down about what.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Would that be a motion to forward to full council on the 15th
Yes.
to vote on the mutual aid agreement?
Yes.
As well as discuss. Thank you. Do I have a second on that motion?
King, I'll second it, because, our full council is the governing body for this, city, so I'll form the two full council, I will also support it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Understood. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of forwarding the mutual aid agreement with Mount Pleasant to full council on June 15th, say aye. Aye. None opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Chief Turner. Okay, back to our agenda. That's all that we have tonight under new business, and we're back to public comment. Any public comment? The 1980s top matinee's not in the building.
Nobody's waiting.
All right, no one's waiting, so committee concerns. All right, you good? All right, what we have on adjournment? Motion to adjourn, do I have a second? Second, all those in favor? Aye. Stand adjourned. 7:51. Thanks, y'all.
We're calling DPD committee to order 7:55 PM here on June 1st. We have Ms. Kuzma, Mayor Merritt, I'm here running mine out, Mr. Adams over there, Circuit Ford, looking on you. There's Mr. Broad back behind the camera. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. Public comment. Do we have any public comment tonight? Nobody in here? Anybody online?
It's Mr. Crowder.
Mr. Crosby, you want to say anything? All right. If you decide to later, you're okay. What do I hear on reading approval of minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as distributed.
Do we have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is there and a second. Do we have discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. The minutes are approved as submitted. Reports and communications from city officer. Mr. Madden, do you have anything?
I do not.
Mr. Broad?
I don't have to report.
All right, we don't have any unfinished business, so we're going to move straight into new business, which is the cultural center lease rental agreements and rules. This is going to be primarily for information and review. There's a lot there, so I think Mr. Broad is just going to give us a quick overview, and no actions will be taken on it tonight, but we do want everybody to just take a look and bring your thoughts back next month. We'll hold it on.
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Matthew, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you guys tonight. I won't go through the whole historical background, so you guys know how this facility has come into being. The city purchased it some time back, and as we already discussed tonight, we've added multiple activities and events at the center. One of the things that has happened this past year that is really exciting is the budget of the auditorium, which really gives us a beautiful new facility to use for rental space. It was used somewhat sparingly before, but now obviously there are some really good opportunities perhaps for weddings, corporate events, in conjunction with the amphitheater, which is a beautiful facility in and of itself. I can see weddings taking place out there as well as after wedding events and things like that too as well. So with that being said, and other rooms that have been completed, we have taken a thorough review of our current leasing practices. We're adding the amphitheater and the auditorium to our leasing and rental policy, but obviously those are policies that we don't make the staff, but suggestions that we would bring to council. We have used the policies that the city has been working off of and the rental agreements that we've been working off of, and we've just updated those to include these new facilities that are available to us. So I won't go through all of them. We did add some note. We added staffing, hiring opportunities in some of the rental agreements. As you know, the city has for the inception of the center allowed the center to be used at nighttime without staff. So when it's rented at night, there are events, a lot of times there are no staff members there at all. That's been the practice of the city since its inception. So another reason we either need staffing for the center or we're going to have to include that in our rental agreements. So the liability issues that the city has encumbered because it has no staffing there, someone will get hurt. We don't even have a plan in place to call anybody other than to call Kira or myself. So, or, 911 if someone get hurt, nobody's at the facility. So we want to correct those policies. We want to correct those agreements, add those elements into the current agreements. As well, we suggested some pricing for the amphitheater and auditorium based off of other facilities nearby that we looked at to see what those pricing were. We are a public facility. We didn't want to price ourselves out of the market and still allow the facility to be used. But just as a reminder, we have done a $650,000 renovation to the auditorium. Not just anybody can go in and turn the lights on anymore. Not just anybody can go in and turn the sound on anymore. That takes really a trained and qualified person to do that. So we would like to rent those elements out of the auditorium too as part of a rental agreement, but we have put in procedures and processes to include that in the process so that we make sure that we have a staff member there to use that. So in all, without going through an extensive overview of each item tonight, we've added those elements in there that we think are important to the health and safety and wellness of the facility run in a proper way and process, including using the police department and our staff as they sit as their part of that. So I would highly recommend reading over this thoroughly, make any suggestions, changes, additions, corrections, deletions that you guys feel are important or not important. We may have overloaded this with too much stuff, and certainly, we are wide open to the direction that council wants to give us on the facility in the coming days, weeks, and months.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any questions? Mr. Mayor.
I'm trying to understand, it's page 8 and 9 are the current setups, and you're talking about the page, starting at 10 to the end of this document, superseding and replacing pages 8 and 9.
Pages 8 and 9, so yeah, here was the other, little addendum, I guess, if you remember, so when the city started running that facility, it was under the rec department. Since then, that facility has been moved out of the rec department into the community development department. So while these are the recreation guidelines, we have not used these exclusively. We've used these plus. We have some rental agreements that George had in place, and we have continued to follow those rental agreements and guidelines that were put in place that were given to us when we came here.
The ones you're using supersede any reference to the cultural center that might be in the Parks and Recreation guidelines, since they still have small shelters and things like that.
So it's been our understanding that everything from the sidewalks of the amphitheater to the cultural center belongs to the cultural center and its use and its renting power or authority, so to speak. And then anything beyond that side that touches the rec department is run and maintained and operated by the rec department. And so I think while there's a difference between the fact that that's all considered Parks and Recreation, and the amphitheater is still not labeled technically as a park, but the amphitheater of the city. There is that denotated difference between how it's operated and
It's on page 9 where it's highlighted cultural center community. It really is deleted off of this, and it goes to the community development guidelines.
Yes, sir. Yeah, some of these are probably incorporated in the policies that we put together. And obviously we look at all of these stuff. We don't do $100 per day per field. That's, and two, thinking about the amphitheater auditorium, it's hard to lease that out per hour. So we've really kind of stuck to kind of like a day use. If you're gonna rent that, you've got to rent that for the day. I mean, obviously there are exceptions, and we'll certainly make those. You guys may want to suggest what those might look like. But, we've looked at the broad spectrum of what is the best avenue to rent those facilities. So, not to say that we know, but we're trying to gauge what that might look like.
Is it the van broad spectrum?
Yes, yeah, that's pretty wide spectrum.
I heard your comment on the staffing for active hours, which I fully support that. Same thing applies to our senior center there. So the person that is full-time on our city staff is in her office all during the day.
Yes, sir.
But also the person that would, if this event required a staff to be present at night, this is the same person we would expect to be there at night.
No, sir. Our thinking was that we have a part-time maintenance individual at this facility now, and we would offer that opportunity for them to earn extra money by being available. Obviously, you'll see references if you're car bought void with our police department as well. We want them to be able to be useful as additional staffing, whether it's for, if alcohol is served, then there are requirements that you have a police department member there. But even if it's not served, then an officer wants to earn extra income just to have a staff member there. We feel like it's important to include that element in staffing. So whether it's a staff member, which could be myself, not planning to do that, but we have other staff members who feel like can handle that and add to their plate if they're so desire. And the other example would be Tim St. Clair. I can run sound and lights. I don't want to run sound and lights. But Tim St. Clair is phenomenal at running sound and lights. And so obviously, if you're going to rent auditorium, that comes with Tim St. Clair. Or we have other people that we utilize from time to time. Productions Unlimited, Matthew Polishuk is a phenomenal audio technical engineer that week. Or Roger Brown could be somebody like that. We would say, hey, we want to handle this and understand how our system operates so that we can pull those people in.
I guess my final question, if I could, is, so you're talking about a facility that's going to be open 12 to 14 hours a day, plus the other selling our city, developing our city center, and all things that falls under your same department. All that is still going to be handled by 2.5 people.
Well, 3.5. Me, Jeannie, Kira, and then a part-time staff.
That's right, Chief.
Jeannie's in our
3.5 people.
Yes, sir. Okay. Right, which is,
So
either we continue to expand our programming, or at some point, it's just kind of given that we say, this is as far as we can expand for now. And that's okay too. I think we just need to know as a staff, what is that dividing line? Where do we say enough is enough for us?
As long as you continue to set the bar, chase the bar.
Yeah, that's no problem.
That's what I was trying to do. I just wanted it on the record.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Anything else?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the pricing, is that something that changes on a yearly basis?
It does not.
Is this from 2008?
Some of this is from 2008. For example, I don't know if the contract's in there, but we have a young man that rents a studio from us, and the price he's been charged is the price that he's been charged since probably 2000. And did George come here? I think he established that 2000. I came in 15, so maybe 2010 or 11. The Art Haven School of the Arts is a business that I recruited into the center, and they're due an increase in rent. They pay $750 a month for 2 rooms. Some of our teachers don't rent a room because we use them for other purposes throughout the week. So they give us a percentage of their pupil pay, 25% of their pupil pay. So rooms that are dedicated, we've charged a set fee. We've got basically 3 rooms that are kind of dedicated. Then we've got rooms like the Rotary Room, and our office is down in the Veterans Room, so we don't take half of the Veterans Room anymore, except for the Rotary Room is really kind of public use. But the Rotary Room and the Wood Carver Room were fixed features that the city employed, again, way before our time. At one point, the Cultural Foundation ran that facility for the city, and then the city decided that it was more advantageous for it to run it itself, so they inherited the Cultural Foundation into the city's command of my brain's not working, but anyway, into the chain of command, so to speak. And they brought George on staff to be the cultural affairs director for the city, so it became a staff position. It's just a hard facility to run from a private standpoint, and it wasn't successful to do that, which is why the city now maintains and operates that building. So a lot of this was done during that time, during that transition. Wood carvers, they used the room for free. Toastmasters, I think, is the only group that actually pays a rental fee to us of our civic groups. The Rotary Department put in $25,000 with Rotary Club for use of the facility to 2021. That lease agreement runs out next year. I think the city did that because it didn't have the money, or maybe it had money, but it just didn't have the plan in place to do something. So it said, well, let's partner with this group and this group, and they take your money, and they take a little money, and they fix your own business, and the road for a while. And that's good when there is no plan beyond public use as a civic center. But, over the last 5 years, through the will of council and budgeting and department expansion, it's kind of been decided that we're an arts center. And we really moved toward that programming element. And in that programming element, other programs change and the functions change. So civic uses have diminished somewhat, and some of that's due to, I don't even know if we have a Lions Club anymore. Civitan was meeting there for a while as well. I'm not even sure if they're continuing to meet anymore. So some of that's natural attrition of just the fact that culture is topic these days. So this is the policy based on all conglomeration of stuff over the past 10 or 15 years since the city's had this building. They've tried several different things, so I've given you a lot more information than you probably
That's
wanted.
okay. I'm just thinking the different things that we may rent out, ball fields and amphitheater and things like that. Are we being competitive in all these things? Is the pricing need to increase?
And I certainly think that's something you guys should do, just suggested pricing. I'll give you an example. My daughter has not gotten married, but she was planning to get married a year ago, and the facility we were looking at was like $5,000 just to start. Then you started adding all these other things. Well, almost said what I was going to say. But she didn't get married, and so I saved some money. So, so you're right. There are, and we looked at a lot of facilities, and those pricing for a lot of those private facilities are a lot. I kind of look at this facility a little differently because it is owned by the city, and it's operated by the city, and so it's kind of a public trust to some degree. Do you have a responsibility to give a knockdown price for citizens? Perhaps. I think it's nice to be able to do that. But to also be competitive too at the same time, I think it's important for the city to be wise in the investment that it has in the cultural center, because we put a lot of money in there this past year and a half. And the outside too, beautiful facility, and we've got more work to do there. Yeah, so it's a 1937-39 building in the Roosevelt Public Works Administration. That's history. That to me is phenomenal history. That the city still has this building, regardless of the fact that it's that old and could have burned up in a skinny minute because of the wood that's in there. But thankfully, we have a fire suppression system in there now, so hopefully that will protect it from that should it ever burn. So the city's made great advances with this facility out there. So.
Anything else from Mr. Broad on that? Then can we get a motion to hold this on floor so that everybody can do the research and do the comments for next week?
I make a motion to hold the same committee to allow everyone to look over everything.
There's a second discussion.
Is there a discussion? Mayor.
If we're wanting, I guess we've had it since last week, so I thought this would be a chance to do it already. But if we're wanting council feedback before it goes to, I'm assuming you want to send it at some point to finance and policy committee. Is it going to be a policy or just more or less guidelines?
I think that this falls under what the cultural center has done. I don't think that finance finance and policies had anything to do with rental rates of facilities, so that it would stay here.
So I guess that was trying to get to the question, we would want full council to weigh in on this, or just within the.
To me, I guess it's in the.
I would say the full council definitely should weigh in on it, but, once they get the recommendation from this committee, just like any other agenda. So to give everybody a little more time to flesh this out, and then we come back and incorporate our 2 cents, or 25 cents, or $50, or whatever it is that we want to put in there. And then forward that to council, and then have the rest of council provide their input at that time.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second, and no more discussion, so all in favor of holding this in committee, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Public comment. Thank you. Scott's still with us. All right. No public here. Committee concerns. The only thing that I would like to say, and you all heard me as a member of the public address the finance committee earlier. Man and his team do a tremendous amount of work that is over and above what they can really do. And they're split, they're full, they can't handle anymore. And so I would ask that you give very serious consideration that when we meet as a council in just a couple of weeks and the agenda item comes up to use the $40,000 from H&A, the fund that is generated largely by this department itself, that you consider voting in favor of that request. So that is my own comment. And with that, what we hear on adjournment.
Motion adjourned.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second? Discussion, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. We're adjourned.
I will call the Public Works Committee meeting for June 1st. Orders, a fifth committee meeting of tonight, approximately 8:20 p.m. Our first order of business is public comment. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to say who's here. On the PW committee, acting as chair right now is myself, Mayor, Ms. King, Mr. Reynolds, our city administrator, Mr. Brandon Madden, our public works director, Mr. Matt Eastman. This year, audio, video, aids, live streaming handled by surgical court. All is good, so we are here. So, first order of business, public comment. Is there any public comment? Madden, we have any emailed in?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. McCord, you're not seeing it.
We have no participants.
No participants. Good, let's talk about stormwater. No, I'm kidding. There are no public comment. We have, reading and approval of minutes of Public Works Committee meetings of May 4th, 2020. Pleasure of committee.
Make a motion they be approved as submitted.
I have a motion from Mr. Reynolds. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Ms. King. Are there any discussions, corrections, and adjustments, amendments to the minutes as submitted? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Minutes are approved as submitted. Report, communication city officers, our city administrator, Mr. Matt, anything?
I do not, other than, I've been working with, Mr. Ireland on reviewing an easement for the Brooklyn Road property. He left me a message earlier, I returned his call, waiting to hear back from him on that. Mr. Freeman is here, and then he wants to provide any updates on some of the ongoing, projects that we have. But I just wanted to make sure council was aware of that. Second thing has to do with the municipal match resurfacing program. Once council approves the budget, then we'll be providing them with the amount that the city is participating this year. We know that council is considering a substantial investment into this city-owned infrastructure, city-owned streets, which will far exceed any of the matching amount that will be available. However, I just want the council to know that's what we're tracking. In the fall, the delegation will request from the city the actual roads that will be paved. Our road inventory is ongoing. They'll probably have their vans here in July to go through and actually measure our roads and provide a report from us in the late summer, early fall on our roads. So I just wanted to make sure council was aware of where we stand with that. And that's all I have to report.
Please, Mike. Budget review, any first shot on wisdom you would like to lay upon us?
Sure, it's Fleeman.
Cleveland,
Fleeman.
please.
There's no S in there.
Please,
As far as our budget goes, we're right on track. We're supposed to have 9-10% left. Bearing a few budget adjustments that we're going for council with the shifting for the budget amendments. My budget number is a little bit skewed right now because those values haven't been moved into the lines, but by and large, we're right on track. Somewhere between 6 and in the case of sewer, like 30% of the budget remaining. So we're doing quite well.
I would like to add, Matt, you certainly can chime in. Over the past few weeks, we've been inundated with rain, and that has delayed our efforts in debris brush pickup.
That's not true.
Oh, well, this is where I'm going. They do operate in the rain, but we've had a large amount of debris to brush out on the streets. And Matt, I know you did a kind of an inventory on the amount that we collected thus far, and it's more than double for this time last year.
Yeah, so I pulled the numbers from April 2019 compared to April 2020. Trash alone was an additional 150 tons. We usually collect about 600 tons in a month, 600, 650. 150 is a significant increase. And as far as brush, we always go by loads, which is how much fits in one of our knuckle trucks. And April of last year was 52 loads, and this year was 122. So I mean,
Almost like everyone was home.
and nothing else to do. Yeah, so the sheer volume is there. We revamped our staff. Some people are better than others at operating the knuckle boom, and we've been going 3 trucks every day with the best operators, rather than have them in the trash trucks or doing other duties. And we've even stopped hauling it. We've been stockpiling at Jenkins, have a contract hauler haul it for us. Typically, we run the trucks down to
Benson's, it's in Simpsonville, which every time you load a truck, go down there, you're wasting 30, 40 minutes. So we've been stockpiling here and having a contract hauler just so that we can continue to have those trucks running full throttle. And we're very aware of the situation citywide. Everyone has brush, and you guys are getting it, and they're loading it. We will catch up sooner or later. Hopefully more sooner than later. This is one of the other reasons I had requested the knuckleballs in the next fiscal year. We're at a size now with our growth and with our volumes that having an extra truck on the road is worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully we can get, once council approves the budget, get another truck that'll assist. So this time next year, if we are in the same situation with the amount of volume, we'll be able to do a better job of reducing any type of buildup that folks have been experiencing. With picking up the brush and debris that's out there. But they are working. We're gonna make a significant dent this week, and we'll keep pushing. I know you all have been getting inundated with calls, emails, and so we have as well. We recognize that issue. I don't want you all to think that we're not doing everything we can to kind of address it, and that's what we're doing.
Just to pass along, did have a call from a citizen who wanted to pass along to you that the knuckle boom operator was the most efficient, the best he's ever seen in this city. Said he got that clause down, he picked up exactly what it is, and when he left, he said, I went out there and got my broom and rake, because I know I always have to clean up. He said, this guy left it spotless, and he went to pass that along. Great job. He didn't know who he was.
What street it was?
Bethel Green.
Was that from today?
Let's see, the phone call came in yesterday afternoon, so he was probably talked about last week, because you got half of one street in Bethel Green picked up last week.
A lot out there.
Yeah, I rode around that neighborhood today. It's amazing where they're bringing this brush. They must not have anything else to do. Maybe we'll get them back to work.
And they're chopping down trees, not just branches, trees. And then yelling at us for not.
Guilty.
Still in the backyard, but we haven't tried that out.
Can we figure out a way to recycle pizza boxes? But I think right now the trash can is a net pizza boxes hanging out.
The cardboard boxes from Amazon shipping, it's not only is trash numbers astronomical, but the volume of recycle, the amount of cardboard.
We certainly appreciate the job that you and your staff are doing right now, because we know it's a big trying because of the manpower situation as well as the rest of the social climate today, with a lot of people home, and between the rainstorms, we've been able to cut brush and haul it down in the street. Take out, pick up, throwing those boxes away too. So
well, we appreciate
it.
I'd also at this time just kind of ask if you guys had any questions about the council memorandum that came from Brandon this week in regards to staffing of public works. The recommendation to inmate labor has been, as you all know, has been suspended since March 14th. So for the public works employees running all the trucks, March, April, May, not June. Hopefully we can get them back in July. We won't know until the end of the month. There's been I guess approximately 16,000 and change remaining in the inmate expenses. So the recommendation that we've worked on was to approach temp agencies to use that remainder of those funds to get individuals onto the back of the trucks, to free up public works employees to get the ball fields ready for baseball, to continue working on the stormwater projects, help with the facilities opening up, and a long list of everything else we need to do. If there's any questions or concerns,
want to know anything about it, why we made the decision, or like to answer any questions.
I mean, the school steam ahead, thought it was a great plan, was to go.
Would you update us on the storm drainage over at Mauldin?
Certainly, the last 2 weeks of rain have put us a little bit behind. However, we got out there this morning. We have set the first catch basin that sits right on the parking lot, which is the main one that is going to capture all the parking lot drainage. And then we have set the basin that goes on the trench that splits the two ball fields. We contacted Duke Power. There is a main transmission line that comes off the telephone pole to our box there, that where the new playground is going to be sitting. So we're having them disconnect that line so that we can go in and put our excavation and get our pipe in, without any risk to our employees. We should have that pipe in probably tomorrow or the next day. The other two catch basins will hopefully go in by the end of the week. We keep chugging along. Some of the guys have decided that we actually work over today. Just get as much sunlight in as you can. These are the kind of projects that employees really like to do. They eat lunch on site, we worked over. It wasn't me asking me, it was them asking me, hey, could we just stay with this? So we're going to continue to push forward. Get it knocked out, and hopefully that will be the first step in making that park beautiful again. And Bart will get, the basketball court has not been finished. We still have to get the fence up, and we have to get the final resurfacing. And with that wrapped up, we'll get ready to go there. I have asked Recreation and Administration to suspend baseball activities at Springfield. We have been able to accommodate recreation by just using the city and Sunset. I just felt there was an inherent liability with as much construction. And so recreation was able to give me the month of June with all the playground construction, basketball court, stormwater, so that we won't have problems. But after that, we should be fine and they should be able to use it.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
Thank you.
All right, we have no unfinished business, we have no new business, we are back to public comment. Got anybody for? No. Committee concerns?
Just a comment that again, restating that, seeing all our employees on the back of the truck, I know it's things for them. They're doing a great job with it. Just keep rolling along. We certainly appreciate it.
Just one I have, it came in late, so I don't think I sent you an email yet, Mr. Madden, but the Mauldin Circle, there's some houses on the backside of that, drainage coming off the sports center parking lot, new playground, the new restaurant facility, seems to be flooding the yards. They're worried about the underneath the house. We've had one of our gentlemen who has walked that area and they told the residents that yes, the problem is going to be coming before council on July the 1st. So just an update. I did get those phone calls this morning, this afternoon. So just a committee concern, if you put that on the radar screen, probably already have it.
Yeah, it'll be coming before council in July.
Well, we were going to take it to committee. So I got the call earlier this week during the storm, so I went out to assess it. Certainly, there's a significant drainage issue, not so much with the playground. It's that the entire parking lot and that back side of the sports center, there are no stormwater controls at all back there. So everything that hits that pavement goes into that lady's yard on Mauldin Circle. And the water elevates very quickly, and it floods significantly across our whole property. So we had spoke on Wednesday, which wasn't enough time for me to put together valid recommendations for a committee. So we decided to wait until the next month. Certainly there are expensive and non-expensive options to address, but they will all be significant. And in the case of this particular, stormwater issue, this is a property rights issue between the city and the property owner. And it's our property that's causing the problem, so we will need to address it.
Thank you. Hearing nothing else, anything on adjournment?
Well, I had a concern.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Not really a concern, but, I thought we had referred the stormwater committee back to committee. Are we gonna discuss that at any point, or where did that go?
That, it was left that I withdrew my motion off the floor and said I'd be willing to give this particular committee an update on the committee. I pulled that off. I will not form a committee. There seem to be some concerns from various councilmen about a committee. And so we are heading in a different direction.
All right, very good, thank you.
Okay.
Now I can say motion to adjourn. If we're ready for that.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, aye. Aye. We are adjourned at approximately 8:42. I'd like to call the Recreation Committee meeting to order, please. It's, June the first, it's approximately, 8:42 PM. Members present, myself, Dale Black, Mr. Pat Matney, Mr. Michael Reynolds. Got, the interim Recreation Director, Mr. Bart Kimmerlander, and the city administrator, Brandon Matney, present. Glad everybody's here, and glad we got off the call in where we can see people and talk without echoes and birds and everything else bothering. Okay, first item on the agenda is public comment. I don't know if we got anybody dialed in to it. All righty, moving right along, the next item is no public comment. We'll come back into this. What's the pleasure of committee on the reading and approval of the minutes of the May the 4th, 2020 committee meeting?
Move for approval.
Got a motion, Mr. Matthew, to approve the minutes of May 4th. Do I have a second? Any additions, corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So they pass unanimous 3-0. All right, we got a report of communications from city officers, departmental report. Mr. Finlander, you got something you'd like to say or anything you'd like to say to the committee?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Talk about Springfield Park, talk about it real quick. The board's director talked about the basketball court there, putting the goals up, the backboards tomorrow. They're gonna hold off on the goals. Reason we're putting the backboards up is so the guys can paint the lines, they have to have that goal there so they can, line the lines up inside the box there. Also, they'll be putting another coat on, paint on that, surface on that asphalt. That will be the third coat they put on there, so it's sucking up the rest of the asphalt. So the final coat will go in probably this week. That project should be wrapped up by the end of the week. It doesn't rain. And playground at Springfield is coming in next week. So what we're gonna do, so no matter how much time, is we're gonna start the project because we have the lower and the upper. So we'll start the upper first, and then we're gonna work on the lower end of the last. So we're trying to push that out, give Matt as much time as possible so he can finish this project. City Park fencing is complete. Yes, he does. Matt and his guys do a good job. I've talked to Brandon a little bit. We're having a little bit of a cat issue, so we're I've seen animal patrol coming in there trying to see if there's any cats. So the cats are getting in the new playground, so we're working on that as you know, as we see the cats, whatever. There were food bowls and things like that inside the park. We've taken all those up, me and Andre. And so where they're coming from is right in the corner. So they're just stray cats. So we're working on that as well. The playground is completely finished. It's been inspected at City Park. The walking trail should start this week. The curbing has been installed. So that was part of the asphalt project as well. Around the walking trail, around the playgrounds. It's about complete. It's going to be completed by the end of the week, excuse me. And so that has been, I was talking to Mr. Black earlier, and me and him been here a long time, so we tried to prepare. It's probably been 25 years since that walking trail has been resurfaced. We patched up in some places where roots came in. So hopefully, a little bit later, we've got some money there set aside to finish that project. We're completely around that facility. City Park is kind of a hidden jewel. That's kind of one of my favorite parks. So try to get that little project completed. Talking about rec, we started baseball practice, flag football, baseball, softball started tonight. As the course director told you, we do not have Springfield, so we're utilizing City Park. We're utilizing Sunset Park. So we seem to be okay on that. Willie was around tonight. I texted him back and forth, and he said everything seemed to be going good. We've got hand sanitizer stations throughout the parks.
use it. Public Works is taking up all the bleachers, so you have to bring your chairs. Willie has communicated that with all the parents. You know, bring your own seating if you want to sit. There will be no bleachers once we start, which is June 15th. We start our season. Lacrosse, we've had to cancel that season because Andre tried his best, but the only team that was really county that was really wanting to play still, and they still a holdout was Anderson. So we waited to the last minute. Parents were getting a little anxious, so we just we gave them their refund back or let them play baseball. So we've had some of that people not playing lacrosse, but they're playing baseball for us. The Sports Center, everything is in place to open June the 8th. We'll be opening up the Sports Center June the 8th. Playground June the 8th. Our summer camp starts June the 8th. The tape's down, the equipment is spread out. Amanda has done a great job with that. The senior staff will be helping out that week just to get us going because we're going to take folks' temperature right there at the door as they come in. So we'll be utilizing the senior staff as well on that week. And that's all I have. So, y'all have any questions for me? Also, let you know, Darlene Franklin is retiring. Her last month will be in June. He's advertised for the job. I think we got a lady, a girl or a young lady interested in the job. So I think she will start June 15th. She's a Mauldin girl, Clemson grad. I think she'll be a huge asset to our department and our team. She did go to school with Andre, but they did not know each other until after the game. So I think everybody knows Andre and Willie. So she's a Mauldin girl, like I said. I think she'll be curious where we need to go with the rec department, the direction we want to go.
I got a question, Mr. Coleman. I just like to make a statement, Bart. Pass it on. I've communicated with Bart by email and phone calls, passing on to Willie and Andre and Amanda and all the staff over there. What an excellent job they've been doing during the shutdown. The work they've done at the park with the fencing and the playgrounds and doing the programs and trying to keep everything going. They've done an excellent job in all the classes that Amanda and Kayla and them have had on the internet, so that people can still keep exercising. I just like to pass it on to them. The whole staff has done an excellent job of recreation and sports center. I appreciate what y'all have done, keeping everything going.
I will. Thank you, Mr. Black. I appreciate you, our staff. We got a great staff. I will add, I told some of them tonight, if you do get a phone call, there was a little boy, I won't mention his name. He does live in Mauldin. His folks belong to the sports center. Members, he has stage 4 cancer, and one of his things he want to do is do the rock wall, so we let him in today. Our folks were completely sanitized and we invited her around him, so his mother and his brother and his older sister, excuse me. So if you get that phone call, that was a kid on there, but I felt like I told Brandon it was a window that we could get him in there, and I have a 7-year-old child, and I can only imagine the parents going through. So thoughts and prayers out to that family because it was the smile on his face was priceless, and so that was one of the things that he wanted to do, kind of like a bucket list. So that was.
That's great. I'm glad y'all could accommodate and do that.
Amanda came in, I'll defend you all day long on that. And Amanda came in and asked me about this young man, and it was rewarding to see that. So we gave him some baseballs to his sister and his brother and some hats. And so the mother was very appreciative. So I just thought y'all like to know that.
That's great. I'm glad y'all did that. Anything else that's coming in, was there? Thank you, Bart.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Matt, you got anything you'd like to bring forward regulated at this time?
No, I do not.
I think there. Anybody got anything to add, Mr. Matt?
The only thing that I have to ask, Mr. Chairman, we have these nice new playgrounds installed. We have opened the gates to the parks. I think it's going to be very difficult to keep people off of the equipment, even though they say on the Facebook page, the playgrounds remain closed. When are we going to go ahead and lift that and officially allow them to be open?
Monday, June 8th. And the reason being is we wanted to make sure we had something in place so we could, throughout the week, sanitize the equipment. So I think we have a plan in place for public works.
For those that haven't seen the new playground equipment, there's one at the Culture Center and one up at City Park, and they're excellent. Got the new curving around, the one up there, we haven't done the asphalt pavement at the City Park yet, we got the new wooden fence at the open air market and all that, so everybody's coming right along.
I will say, Mr. Black, to your point, the shelter, playground and shelter, we're planning to have a council opening, ribbon cutting. So we didn't want to we have no problem opening up on that particularly, but we wanted to wait until we put the council plaque up there and have councils have an event kind of dedicating that facility and the playgrounds to the residents of the city. That would still remain closed until we had that. I know that we were looking at mid-June to have that event. But if council's will is just to open up the playground.
Mr. Chairman, I would say, a plaque to me, isn't that big a deal. If we want to do a ribbon cutting at a later date, I think that's fine. But I would be all for going ahead and opening up the playground so the kids can take advantage of it now.
I don't have a problem if everything's ready and it's secure and all this stuff, we can do it in a safe manner. But like I say, as far as the flag and all, I mean, that's great, but we can have a ceremony with the flag. All we do is listen to the mayor talk anyways. Listen to him anytime. We put the flag in after it's opened up. I mean, that's just in my opinion. I mean, it's nice to do it all one time, but since, everybody's been shut down and inconvenienced as well as all the council and staff, I wouldn't have a problem with going ahead and opening it up at a later date when everybody can get there. Cause we got people that's been cooped up and start vacations and they're gonna be out of town, so we're gonna have to coordinate a time when most of the people on council can be there anyway. Okay. I don't have a problem with it. The rest of the council, the mayor, he doesn't have a problem. We're gonna tear it up, okay. I mean, I don't have a problem going ahead if we can open up with the rest of them. All we're gonna do is wait on the dedication ceremony. I don't have a problem going ahead. Let the people start utilizing it.
Okay, well, that's fine. The shade structure that blew off a few weeks back, it still hasn't been delivered and installed yet, but other than that, playground.
Yeah, like I said, the city park is excellent. You curve it all when they get the asphalt down. We can get the cats out there. Might want to call Anne Marie and get her to get cats. I think she's a cat lady in Mauldin. But that's great. Like I said, all they're doing a great job. All public works people and recreation and all the staff and everything. People in town got a lot to be proud of on what we're trying to accomplish and give them for recreation for the kids and for them. Appreciate what everybody's done. All righty, moving right along with nothing else, we go to unfinished business. This is the sports center door upgrade. I think this was sent back from the previous council meeting, and I was not in attendance and about the committee. And what I would like to have committee do is their pleasure to hold this in committee until we get to all the total cost factors on the door openers cards and all that stuff. You know, bring it back next month if we got everything ready then, and maybe we take some kind of action on it at that time. We get down to questions about cost factor, will this card work here, will this do that, and that do that, so we have a few unanswered questions. So I just like the wood to hold it in committee.
Move hold.
Right. I appreciate that. All right, moving right along. The next thing is unfinished business. We don't have any more. The new business is approval of a bar grant on pages 8 and 9 of your information. Mr. Manning, you want to handle this, or Mr. Cumlander, or both of you?
Interim Director, Mr. Cumlander.
Chairman, if you want, I can just save time and make a motion. Say-
That's what it
You want to talk or you want to make a motion?
You can do whatever I
Mr. Chairman, I move, that we forward to full council for approval, use the 2019 park grant funds for resurfacing of the walking trail at City Park.
I got a motion, Mr. Manning, we forward his park grant to the full council for repaving of, city park, which is approximately, what, $22,000.
$2,288.
51 cents.
For approval, correct?
Yes.
All right, got a motion by Mr. Manning, second, Mr. Reynolds, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of forwarding this to council for approval at the next council meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it, 3-0, none opposed, everything's good. You got off the hook there, Mark.
Thank you.
Let's get more.
All righty, that's all the new business we have. The next item is public comments. We don't have any public comments. Mr. Mayor, somebody has something? Nobody dialed in?
Okay, would you like me to, practice my,
Yeah, your dedication, unveiling, you go and practice. After we adjourn this meeting, you can practice all you want. No public comment, any committee concern?
Yes, sir.
All right, hearing none, what I hear on adjournment.
So
Got a motion, Mr. Manning, we adjourn, that's second. Second, Mr. Reynolds, all in favor, aye. I appreciate everyone's attendance, this is all the work, everything, everybody is doing, staff, always, everybody.